Has a red thing.
That's the recording button.
It's the red thing.
It's zoomed in. All right.
Is that us? Here we go. 2 FPS, 3 RPGs, and 5 sim-type games.
Yeah.
I think you'd be able to come up with one here.
I'm actually pulling this one hard.
Ask all the people that need hacks to play Call of Duty. I could hear you groaning inwardly every time Sim's mentioned. You're just cringing.
All right, so welcome to a special edition of Mods on Air. I am Foyleman, and also on the show today we have with us Stryder. Hello, Stryder.
Hello, everybody.
And also Welshy. Hey, Welshy.
Hello.
So, you know the usual preamble. We have a special.
You don't like the swearing?
Then-
Fuck off.
And this show was recorded
Live in Seattle. Live from New York.
before no audience.
It's Saturday night.
We're in Seattle. Seattle's out there. Yes, we are.
that way.
We're not actually just kidding around. So we've been hanging around PAX 13, PAX Prime, over here in Seattle, Washington, and checking out everything that's on the floor. Paying some special attention to today. Actually, is paying special attention to the indie studios.
Not just
And the
today.
games.
Not just today.
Mostly today.
Well, I would say most of our journey this year has been in the indie area.
Mm-hmm.
Be it today, where we went solely to go to indie, or the other days we always seem to be just always drawn to that indie area. So
Which is easy to find since it's quite large this time, as we've been pointing out, right? So, but what you're going to be able to check out is some of the pre-show recordings that we did, pre-PAX Prime show, not our
primers,
show.
primers to
Wait, what?
pre-PAX Prime primers.
Yes. You know what? Why don't you take a look at day one? Here we go. All right, we have Stryder, Foyleman, and Welshy here in Seattle, Washington, at the PAX 13 show. We are live. Yes, in front of a lot of people here. There are so many people. Right. Yes, they had a lot of people get trouble getting people in and out. Now, right now, we're talking about it being more than 2 hours since the doors opened, and you can see the kind of people that are flowing in behind me. There must be 100,000 people here right now. It's amazing. But luckily, we didn't have to wait on that line to get in to see what was going on. We were allowed to get in an hour earlier in order to get our hands on some of the show floor items. And some of those items were impressive. Some of them were okay. To give you some first impressions, though, we headed over to Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein was a pretty good-looking game. Previous versions of it were not so good. We were pretty disappointed, so we wanted to see what kind of changes were being made. And the changes are good.
I'm suspiciously impressed, which is not something I come across a lot, but the previous title, as you just said, was really not good. It lacked a lot of things. This one, I mean, we only got to play maybe the first 2 or 3 minutes of the opening, which isn't a great kind of review of the game, but a little bit of texture popping I noticed, but hopefully, that will disappear when they release it, hopefully. I didn't hate it, is where I'm going, I guess. They've added a cover system now where you hold a button and you can kind of lean from side to side down, which is interesting. I've not seen a cover system like that before. I'm reserving judgment, but I think it might actually be good. I think, hopefully, in about 6 months, we'll be watching this back and going, look, he was an idiot. But we'll see.
Right, and now with the Xbox and the PS4 being released this year, we were kind of expecting this to be a console-only kind of market, kind of showplace, but it isn't. Although we do see that most every game is going to have some sort of controller on it, like this Wolfenstein game, which is going to turn some people away, like Stryder, who does not want to get his hands on the controller because it's not as much of a fun experience for him.
Yeah, I refuse to play a first-person shooter with a console controller, and so I watched you guys play it. It looks stunning. It looks like they did a really good job. It's a different developer than the last Wolfenstein title, which could have a lot to do with it. But yeah, it looked like it'd be a fun game to play. And if it comes out on the PC and the price is right, I'll probably be picking that one up. I'll be watching it for now, for sure.
Right, and then right next door was the Elder Scrolls Online, which was which we were worried about also being. If you watch any of the previous episodes, we're talking about how it looked. From these videos, looked like a scaled-down version. The graphics weren't as high because they have to handle a lot more people inside of this multiplayer now game. And we thought it was going to be just some new maps that goes along with the existing game. But playing it, it felt a little bit different. It felt like things were updated, like nothing is being cut back. So I don't know what the final release is going to be on that, but right now it's looking pretty good, and it's almost worth my money if it wasn't for what they're going to have every month. It's going to be a subscription fee.
Yeah, the voice of skepticism here, unfortunately, you're playing this game that's designed to be played online in a very controlled and closed environment. You're probably sitting 5 feet or 10 feet away from the server and you're playing with only the people that are in this convention, in that room, in that little area. So whether it's going to be playable like that and the quality is going to be the same once it goes to the live online thing, I don't know. I did speak off the record with one of the devs. Unfortunately, they don't have appointments available for the press with the devs, just with their staffing here. But they've come out and said, you know what, we're going to charge for this game. There's going to be a box price.
Yeah.
Didn't know what it was, but I can't see it being coming out for less than $40. And given the fact that it's a franchise title, I'm guessing it's going to be closer to the $60 price point.
I am too.
That said, they're also going to be they're going to be charging a monthly subscription fee, which is going to be between $3 and $5.
Yeah.
And that, again, this is all off the record information, so it's subject to change. But in this day and age of subscription MMOs failing, I queried him that. I said, in this day and age of failed subscription-based MMOs, how can you justify a monthly fee on top of the box price? And I pointed out the most recent failure, and the most noted one of recent is Star Wars: The Old Republic, and their large subscription fee, and the promises that were made with that, and the reply was they weren't going to fall into the same 3 fundamental mistakes that the Old Republic made, and that was the elevated level of the subscription fee, the lack of content after release to justify that subscription fee, and the lack of endgame, period. And he says they've got all those bases covered. He wouldn't elaborate any more on that. So it could be just developer fluff, or it could be the truth. I don't know. But myself personally, I've got a really tough time swallowing that subscription pill on top of the base game price. Yeah. And we discussed it a little bit. That goes for day one DLC. That goes for subscription DLC. That goes for $10 maps or $10 map packs. That is not supporting your game. You're segregating your game community, and you're making it so you've got no foundation or base to build a franchise off of. Mm-hmm. You're forcing people to go into their wallet for everything, and that's not a viable game, or that's not a viable option for long-term game sustainability.
Yeah. Well, where else we went, though, we also got our hands on Battlefield 4. I was excited about the chance to play that because I have seen it at E3, and to me, from a distance, it looks like just the same old game, actually almost worse than the same old game. And now I can officially say it is the same old game. You're going to end up with the same game with some new maps, and it feels the same, looks the same. I didn't know there's much of a difference.
No. Something I did notice is the fact that, this was just for me, but that map we were playing seemed completely lacking in players. It was very empty. I spent however long we were playing, just running around. I saw one person.
I think part of the problem there was that there was an uneven teams, that there were a lot of people on our side, really not many people on the other side. But it doesn't change the fact that you got to run around, shoot the gun, change your weapons, jump into a tank. You did.
I did at one point, yeah. Which it's the same. It's exactly the same. There's no. What you're going to be getting if you pick this up is just map packs. That's what you're getting. The big hook at the moment is this whole levolution, which isn't even a word, so we won't even get into that. But with the map that we played is the big skyscraper map that everybody's seen. At one point, I found myself going into a lift, and it was like, oh, a lift, and then I realized it's a lift, and so what? And then the level ended. So yeah, I mean, my first impressions of it looks stunning, as it always has for the last two years. If you buy it, you're getting more maps.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's going to be the big impressive point of the show. What is impressive so far to the three of us, I think, is this mega indie booth. All the stuff that's going on over with the indie games, it is much larger than it used to be, and it is much more impressive, and it is much more hopeful for the future of video games. I mean, I think I see something here happening that it could start eating into the bigger titles, and you could start seeing a switch or a change or something happening as a result. I want to talk more with these indie developers, see what's going on, see what we have to look forward to, what kind of price points we're talking about, as well as what kind of publishing options that we're going to end up with, because I know that there are some new publishers, as well as some old publishers, looking to get these indie-type games, these small studio development stuff, out to us, out to the public. And I want to see what happens with that.
Right. The first year that you and I were here, there was the PAX 10, which is the indie pick top 10, or the PAX pick top 10 indie games that were submitted to the panel here. And there were probably 5 others in that area, and they called that the indie area. The next year they had a mega booth, which there was probably a good 20 developers there, something like that. Last year, I felt that had doubled to about 40, and this year, the indie area, I think, has tripled in size.
Maybe.
It is large. It's overflowing from the little segregated indie corner that it used to be. It's moved into a whole different annex now, and it's actually overflowing that area. So I'm quite impressed, and some of those titles look really, really polished.
Yeah.
Just quickly walking through, we'll talk with those developers, some of those developers later, but yeah.
Okay, so we got a big show to walk through.
Yeah.
We've got the main floor, we got some outside floors, perhaps even some stuff across the street. I think Intel might even be over there or something like that. Anyway, we're going to get back to the show and see what's happening, and we'll be back. All right, thanks, everybody.
See ya.
All right, so here we are. We're back after you guys watched us talk about our little primer.
Yes, let's hit up on some of those key points, such as the Omni Virtuix, I think it was?
Yeah, we went and saw the guys over there at Omni.
That giant sort of plastic
Treadmill
eggshell
plastic,
that you run inside of with goggles and a gun and all kinds of controllers surrounding you, various forms of controllers.
Strapped onto your shins and
Ankles and arms and any other extremities that may or not be being tracked by these.
The NSA.
While watching what Stryder is sure is a pre-recorded version of the game.
I'm not sure.
He's not
I'm just saying, you know what? There was points where it was showing the camera, the player running or moving, and the dude was standing there.
Like I didn't see that, but
it was
Ashley Simpson. It was Milli Vanilli.
Yes. The problem was, one of the problems is that they didn't allow anybody but themselves to run it. They said, and I can sort of believe it, that it would take, the learning curve would be too long for people to get used to.
Someone could get hurt.
To be able to use
I'm sure there's an insurance thing there as well. Right?
And the lineup would be forever. Well,
shoe sizes.
That's fine. Shoe sizes, yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Wearing the shoe that every other person at PAX has worn.
Yeah.
Like
just like renting them at a bowling alley. I don't know. Impressions? Usable? Still the same as they were.
Too much money, too many accessories, lots of room in your house. It just seems like too much.
It's a treadmill that you could theoretically put on your virtual goggles, and you could go jogging outside while being inside and playing while you're jogging. And if you turn the corner, you could turn the corner.
But then to me, what we saw isn't really a treadmill. It's that weird dish essentially.
Yeah.
With the kind of, I believe they said there's an air cushion to make it easier. There's no air cushion?
No, it's just low friction shoes.
Low friction shoes. Okay.
And thanks to the crotch hugger, you can pretty much just pick your legs up and start spinning them in the air.
But I just because that to me is not a treadmill. That's just a dish that you're running in. I just feel like the ones we saw, the hexagon shaped ones, or the other one that was like a circle with the staggered, just seems a lot better. We didn't get to play with it. They, as I was saying, it was staff members only kind of thing. But I don't know.
It's an innovative idea, but I don't know.
It's a great idea. The other thing is, the guy had the gun. He had the plus. Are you watching the TV?
He's watching the cartoon.
What the is that?
So you know what? At this point, it's probably a good time for us to take a look at that interview that we had. Here you go. All right, I am with Jan, who is showing off the Omni at the PAX 13 conference, and he is from Virtuix, and he is not only the CEO, but also a founder, creator of the Omni. And this, as you see right behind me, it is sort of like an omnidirectional treadmill of a sort, except without the tread and so forth. You know what? One of the things I wondered is what got you started? What was the inspiration that pushed you towards creating this particular item?
Well, the story of the Omni started about 2 years ago. Microsoft had come out with the Kinect, and I thought the Kinect would make a big impact on virtual reality. Great device, $100, could track your full body. And I started looking for ways to play into what I, at that time, believed would be a virtual reality revolution. And one of the big problems that had not been solved yet was how do you physically walk around in the virtual world? You have the glasses, you have tracking. How do I move around? Okay. And that's what I tried to solve with the Omni, and here we are 2 years later with our products.
Okay, so the Kinect was really the big influence when it came to that. And perhaps you worked with some other software, Ipisoft or something like that, in order to get your motion tracking going? Or was this a whole new SDK that you came up with to work with the Kinect?
Now, we use the Kinect SDK to write our GUI. And a little software program that runs the tracking and that translates your movements into keystrokes that drive the avatar in the game.
All right, so obviously you must have a Kinect to work with this, a Kinect that goes with the PC.
Well, I will say, actually, you won't need a Kinect. We use a Kinect until now, but we're working on our own integrated tracking hardware that will be in the base, and that will track the motions, integrated into the Omni, so you won't need a Kinect.
Now, is that what I'm looking at right down here?
Actually, what you're looking at right now is actually something else. That is a 6th STEM, which is a separate tracking system that is coming to Kickstarter in the next couple of weeks. Yes. And we're here with 6th Sense in our booth to show this particular system working with the Omni.
Sounds like a lot of pieces to put together a whole puzzle. So if I were to, the consumer version, looking ahead in the future, which you were projecting to come out when?
Early 2014, early next year.
Okay, so that kind of system, what would I expect to get whenever I do purchase that? Would it just be the Omni and the rest of it is up to me, or does it come with a lot more?
The Omni comes with the platform, the belt, the shoes, and integrated tracking hardware and software. So the only other things you need is the Rift, or rather HMD, a PC to process it.
Rift is still optional, correct?
Well, the Rift is the best one out there right now, so that's always a good option. And then a controller, a gun, or a Xbox controller, whatever you'd like to use.
Okay, and right here you have a different kind of a controller, be it Xbox or whatever.
Yeah, this is an Xbox gun off the shelf, works out of the box. It's a good option.
Okay, and then he teamed up with 6th Sense, who was right next to you, and that is sort of like a motion tracking where you put it on each of your limbs, is that right?
Yeah, 6th Sense is coming out with wireless tracking, magnetic tracking, stem trackers. You can hold them in your hands, on your feet, so you can track hand speeds, and really have that full motion control in virtual reality. You can walk forward, look left, and then aim independently of where you're looking. So full aim control.
So now tell me a little bit about the shoes, though. Is this going to be a problem for some of the people where they have different size shoes, and they have a friend come over and want to play or something like that, and they can't fit in the shoes, or is it going to be more universal?
Well, the shoes are common sizes, but they're pretty universal. We offer every size up to shoe size 15. Yeah. And if you have a shoe size 9, you can probably fit in the 10 or in the 8. So there's some flexibility there.
Okay. Now, what about the SDK? The SDK is going to ship along with some integration, such as with Half-Life, perhaps Team Fortress 2, perhaps Hawken or something along those lines, because those are already going with the Oculus. Yeah. If I'm a developer, what would I be able to do once I get your SDK?
Yeah, our SDK will provide with developers with a new motion inputs that have not existed before. Right. Independent walking, absolute walking direction, but also analog walking speeds. So you can match your actually walking speeds with the walking speed of your character in the game. So those are some new motion inputs that will make it very interesting for developers to come up with new content.
So you're saying that right now in the Half-Life, if I walk a certain speed, will the player go a certain speed, or is that the end result? Is that what we're going for?
That's the end game. In Half-Life existing games, you have 2 speeds, walking and sprinting. So right now, if he sprints, he'll be sprinting in the game. Right. But there's only 2 speeds. But the end game is we provide you with analog speeds, so you can really match it one-to-one to your actual speeds.
Now the SDK is working right now with the Source engine. What other engines do you have it available with?
Well, our SDK will work with Unity, UDK, the major engines, which has a plugin.
Major engines. All right, great. I think that pretty much wraps it up for us. We're going to be seeing this over on Kickstarter, is that right?
Well, we completed our Kickstarter 2 months ago, raised $1.1 million, but now you can order the Omni online on our website for pre-order for $4.99.
All right, which website is that?
www.virtuix.com.
Great, okay, so we'll be seeing you later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So we're back.
Yeah. So we're back after the Omni. You want to move on to the next piece?
Yeah.
Okay, so repopulation. Repopulation happened to be something that we found over upstairs in the indie department.
Yes.
I mean, there was indie all over the place. There was a main indie area downstairs on the fourth floor.
It was hugely indie because the PAX 10 was up top,
Yeah, I think it was.
and there was indie all around that, which that's usually where the indie all is. And now it had taken over a large chunk of the floor space.
Right.
So much indie this year.
So this one, Repopulation, happens to be an RP. This was downstairs. Okay, it was an RPG sandbox, MMORPG, and that caught my interest. And I started to talk to the guy before we did the interview, and he was going on about how this seemed like something that anybody could build levels for.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, good. We're coming back. Let's do the interview.
Now let's roll the interview.
Yeah, here's that. I'm here with Josh from the Repopulation, the game, and that is Above and Beyond Technologies that created this, right? And we are with Repopulation, which is up here as a sandbox MMORPG.
That is correct.
Right, and that definitely inspired me to ask the question, what does sandbox mean when it comes to this MMORPG?
Sure. I mean, sandbox means a lot of things to different people. We kind of define it as players be able to kind of drive their own style of gameplay. Players can craft pretty much without any combat. So if they want to be,
Let's stop that video right here. Now look at Eric's face.
Right here, you have the disappointment of what actually was just said.
The thing with this as well is I was while this interview's going on, I'm in the background playing, and I watching the video back. It's like I see your disappointment, and then I felt it because I was actually playing it, and it was like, this is kind of terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just like the spawning. You'd spawn in like literally an empty building.
Mm-hmm. I'd
ran up and done the whole thing, and there's only one way out, and it's downstairs. So then why make like 4 extra floors? There's nothing in it, just grey walls.
It was just an RPG.
Maybe it's an early development, version. I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's an RPG,
And it looks old, like an old RPG as well. Like,
which, you're talking an indie game. It's an RPG, and it's an MMORPG as well.
Yeah.
So, the sandbox in the title was misleading.
It was. And every time I walk by it, I always hear them yelling, "Sandbox!" MMORPG. Sandbox!
because it's just an MMO. There is no sand. I don't really get what they were talking about.
Well, there's a sandbox in the MMO. You could actually go play in it if you found that. If you unlocked Sandcastle level 10.
That's not true. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so here's the rest of the interview.
combat. So if they want to be a craft-oriented player, they can do that. We offer player cities where players can manage and build their own cities in non-instance areas. There's also siege elements involved with that as well, and trade. So we allow players to kind of build that way. We have like customizable pets. People can do resource collection, stuff like that, non-combat roles. So we offer kind of a bit of options that allow really the players to do what they kind of want in the game, how they want it.
You've mentioned a lot of customization of character type elements. Do we go beyond that, such as into I want to say terrain, into towns or something like that?
So yeah, I mean we don't have terraforming unfortunately, so there's no like massive terrain. There's not like the voxel style stuff. We don't have that unfortunately. But we do allow players when they do the player cities, the player housing, they can place structures down. So basically when they do that, they'll see the structure in game visually how it's supposed to be.
Feel free to fast forward to that portion.
There's the button. No one will blame me. We'll let it go. It's cool.
Here's the remote.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's right. It's a Meg issue.
I'm glad you picked up on where I was going with that.
It's a Meg episode. Here's the remote.
No one will blame me.
Actually increase the happiness of the cities because they can grow and build the cities and offer more resources. So we got that, and I mean the customization beyond that, we have like with equipment, with characters, they got base equipment that they can use. Then they put it in fittings, which are kind of like sockets, allows them to modify the attributes on the fittings. So this allows them to really customize their equipments and weapons however they want. Same thing with the armor. We do something very similar with pets, vehicles. So allowing really kind of players to design it how they want without kind of locked into a certain selection of items.
Well, being an MMORPG, you must have some kind of server system. Does that mean that people are going to have to subscribe in order to be a part of it?
You're asking basically, it's going to be free to play. So what we're looking at in the free to play model is we're going to have we kind of quasi-box model. What we're looking at is going to be like 20, 40, 60, like one-time fee. That unlocks some features. So you'll still be able to play without it nagging too badly at you or anything like that. But, you know, it'll lock the extra inventory stuff like that. Some people are pretty common used to that. Beyond that, cosmetic options mostly. So there'll be some different armor shells, open shells, kind of like we talked about, with to have the base stats. So you get different options there. We're passionately trying to stay away from the pay-to-win type of areas. We don't want people buying power. So in order to get really what you need in the game, you'll have to earn it. So it's not something you can just buy easily with money.
Well, we have an internal trading system.
A what?
And will you be able to trade inside the game?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So
that's like a store. So
let's start with that. I'm not sure what side you're asking, but on the trading, we'll have like the auction, and we'll have allow them like a reverse auction, which allows players to place items up normally, which is normal auction. The other auction is that they want something. Yeah. So let's say they want a grade A or grade B resource. Mm-hmm. We do different grades of resources from A to F. So depending on the rarity you get, the better the produced item you'll get from the crafting recipe. This also allows people to specialize in the crafting and get at a higher level to produce better stuff. So we have that trading element. If you're talking about more from like the pay to win to sell credits, money, whatever, we don't have that system in place. You won't be able to like buy a bazillion credits. And you also won't be able to buy stuff you can sell for a bazillion credits either. So.
Let me take a step backward. Sure. Tell me a little bit of your roots. Did you start out as modders, develop just people with a passion? Where did this all come from?
We are a kind of a indie group mixed all together. Me personally, my background is in education and IT. I worked at K-12 school district, running like IT infrastructure, stuff like that, running server systems, running data centers. I've always kind of like a development background. I did a small mod called Raftman back in 1999 when I was in high school. Did that for about 7 years. So I kind of enjoyed that, but it's it's a mud. It's not really big. People aren't flocking to muds. So we got that. Study, our lead art director over there, he went to school for that, and he's kind of been a freelancer. So we brought him on. JC, who's not here, is our other lead programmer. We kind of share the role. He's in Thailand, and he's kind of has a background in building a lot of like the websites you go to get information about games. Yeah. So he builds kind of a lot of that. He goes through and like gets information from the databases to populate it. And he's had that and a little few things, but I think he shipped a tile or two. So, but that's kind of our background. We got a lot of mixture of different people, different volunteer people, some more skilled people, some just who kind of just work together with us to create mission storylines, stuff like that. So. Yeah.
So it was a one person's vision, or was it a group of your vision that came together? Is this something that you all came together on Google Docs with, and then turned it around and said, here's an engine we can afford, and go from there?
Yeah, kinda. I originally started like working on what's called the MMO kit, which is a torque-based thing. I got together with JC shortly after that. We're kind of doing the same thing. It's like, we might as well work together, We're both pretty good at this. So we started working together, and we brought Stadi in. Then we brought Jennifer, who's out front. She came in about a year or two ago. So we've been kind of, collecting different resources, skill sets for the game. We're small indie, so we pay a little here, a little there, but mostly it's a lot of volunteer work as well. And that's just kind of how it all came together. We're kind of, originally trying to build a similar game, and just kind of everything meshed together. We have very similar interest to game style played, stuff like that. So.
Okay. Now I noticed on the screen behind me that there is something that says it's alpha. Is it still an alpha, or when can we see something? When can the public see something?
Sure. If you're talking about public release, it'll be a little while, but we're doing closed alpha right now. We plan closed beta towards the end of the year or Q1 next year, but we are allowing people in the closed alpha. We do have like a backer system where people do pay in to get into that, but we also do let people in that have not backed us. We've got quite a few people in as well. So there's an alpha submission request for that. A lot of times we also bring in people who are really active in our forums. They're really familiar with the game. They're good testers. Yep. Even if they're not backed us, if they're really active, we want to bring people in that can really, assist and know what they're doing, give you good feedback. It's really important to us because, we try to set a time schedule, but we work really more so on milestones. Okay. So make sure that we're getting good feedback, that, the testers are telling us we're ready to move forward. So, it's just, it's a, it's done what's done approach. So,
if we want to back you, how do we do that?
You can go to our website. We have up on our menu, allows you to, I think it's early adopters, what's called. So we have packages, I think it ranged from $25 all the way up to, we did $3,000, which was through the Kickstarter. We don't get too many of those, but we got a lot of people who do like the 50, 100. What that allows them to get is, it's actually a discount as well. So they'll get, compared to what you would get if you paid like 50 or 100 when the game ships, it'd be a little cheaper. There's beta access, guaranteed beta access. There's some other things that we add in there in the higher levels, like customized equipment that our artists will go through, like a statue. Sure. So it's a variety of different things. It's kind of similar to what you see, because we did a Kickstarter, and it's kind of similar plans than when we did that.
All right.
Yep.
All right, Josh, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, and that's it. We'll be seeing some more in the by the end of the year, and then definitely next year.
Yeah, we should have some more videos coming out. We have some clan members that are working on some videos throughout this. I don't think we mentioned that, but we have about 40 or 50 people online as well, beyond the people that are playing here. So a lot of them some are even fairly new to playing this right now. So we got it all set up, and they're playing online. We have some clan members some guild members that we've been working with over probably the last year or two, and they're in there kind of going through that. And they're going to be recording some video over this weekend, so we'll have some more stuff from this, and it's going to be a busy next few months. Just release some more information. We've got a lot of information already out there, but we're going to start focus more on feature videos, kind of get that out there as well.
All right, thanks again.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's it. Okay, we came back with a surprise interview. For us, it was a surprise. I don't know about anybody else. We were walking around. We found a place where we could check out the Oculus.
Yes.
Playing Hawken, because constantly we're talking about how we think that Hawken would be so much better as an Oculus type game because it has something that surrounds you that doesn't move around. It would make everybody less sick. But what was the nice surprise on top of that was it was the latest version of the Oculus. That is a 1280 by
1080p.
1080p.
Yeah, 1080p high def Oculus.
Right, which everybody right now only has the lower res version of the Oculus, which we think is also contributing to the motion sickness. So we got to play that, and we each did it.
Talking with the Oculus guy, he also thought that, internally they believe that lower resolution plus the implementation of that lower resolution was causing the vomitous, projectileless battery time.
Is that the battery light flapping?
Yeah. So we'll be back after
The battery is not flapping anymore.
After you watch this Oculus thing.
So we just got finished playing around with the Oculus with Hawken, the game, because we constantly are speculating on whether or not this is going to be turn your head, make you throw up kind of thing, or is it going to be a game that, because there's a surrounding around the screen, that you're actually going to be able to feel less nauseous at the end of the game, I guess is really what we're going with. Now, but not only did we get to play with that, but we also got to play with what is supposed to be the prototype for the high-resolution version of the Oculus Rift. Yep. I gotta say, I wasn't ill at all. Now, I don't know if it had something to do with the way that they put together the mech, and so the surrounding screen isn't there.
It's definitely different because it's a fixed position, and that's the difference from last year when we played with, was it Doom 3, I think it was, or one of the Dooms anyway. And there was no kind of, the thing that made me feel sick, and we've discussed this on the show before, but it was the fact that I'm physically facing this way, and I'm moving this way, whereas in the mech, you're kind of in this cockpit, you're tied in, so the only head movement you require is just your own eyes, because you just want to look like this, you want to look down.
Well, that's the downfall in this game.
Yeah, ironically, yes, because as it turns out, in this particular game, Hawken, you don't even actually need the head movement, because they're right over here, you can see them, but everybody's sitting completely still, there's barely any head movements going on.
And the people in line around them are asking themselves, because we listen to them, they're out there asking themselves, why aren't they moving their heads? Why are they just sitting there when that's what the whole purpose of the Oculus they thought was, this whole virtual reality? But no, these are nothing more than 3D glasses now. So really, is there a point?
For Hawken, no. I mean, it's cool that you can kind of look to your left, look to your right, but when I was actually, there was a bit of it, you go around and there was some other mechs to fight. And at that point, I just stopped moving my head and just focused on what's in front of me. And also noticed I can actually see the peripheral vision that I need to play that game is in my own eyes. So I don't need to move my head this way. I don't need to look this way. One of the things I could see it being really cool for is if they have the, say, instrument panel below you. So it has like the radar on it. It has the the speedometer if it's a racing game, or the brake, the shift light or something, where it actually gives you a reason to look down. So you look down, or if it's something like, say, Borderlands or Far Cry, you're driving a car and you need to see a map. You just look down and there's a map on the dashboard, something like that. That would, because then it would give you the reason to actually look down, or a rear view mirror, so you would look up and see in the rear view mirror, or you could look to the side and see the side mirrors,
or little cutouts out the side that you can look through.
Yeah, other than that though, it's just kind of
wow.
Yeah, it didn't make us feel sick. I didn't feel sick.
Me either, not at all. And you know that I am the one that has to take Dramamine in order to walk down the street. So. So it was great. So I'm hoping to see some more stuff from them and seeing if that it's the high-resolution Oculus that is making the big difference here, because maybe once I put that on into a first-person shooter type style game like TF2 or whatever it is that they have next, that it makes the difference. I don't know.
It depends what's going to happen. I mean,
all right. All right. Let's see next vendor. See you later. Next up, we got a show's favorite, our show favorite, I think it is. Nexon was producing something called Extraction. It was a surprise game, never heard of it before.
Splash damage.
Right. Splash damage, yes, which was also a little bit surprising because we got to talk to the CEO, developer guy, the main...
The dude. We talked to the dude.
Right.
to the man.
And we got an inside scoop as what was going on and where he came from and what the game's going to be all about. And really, the interview that Welshy was able to get with the guy was dead on. So you want to see that. Check it out.
See it now. Okay, so I'm here with Paul from a Splash Damage, I think. Oh, yep. And we are taking a look at Extraction. It's a new game, and we've not heard a lot about it. So tell us about Extraction.
Well, it's the world first hands-on, public hands-on for the game. It's a first-person shooter. I would say that it's kind of AAA in execution, but quite uniquely, we're going to be giving it away for free, which is a new one for us at Splash Damage. It takes place in 2018 or 2020. In 2018, there's a kind of cluster of radiological bombs that are detonated in the centre of London. It leads to a mass evacuation from the city, and for a couple of years, the CDA, this crisis and disaster administration, try and do a clean-up. They're unsuccessful and the centre of London becomes deserted. 2020, we enter the game as mercenaries. There's a huge number of different mercenaries that you can play, so one of the unique things about the game is that its roster of characters. Not just that you can play as men or women of different ethnicities from around the world, but that they have different roles, which means that they've got really cool different weapons, abilities, items, gadgets that they can use in the game world. What you do then is play as part of a team, and you have team objectives that you have to try and complete. So the game that we're playing here at the stand takes place in Camden Lock, and the goal as a squad, if you're attacking for example, is that you need to try and derail a train by hacking into a train switch and moving onto a different line and then blowing up a carriage to get it off the track. As the defending team, you have to try and stop them, and then you play in stopwatch mode and fight again.
So I noticed you're saying it's a very team-based game. How much time, how much development did you spend on making sure? Because one of the big problems with first-person shooters at the moment is one man that just hides in the back. How did you kind of deal with that and think?
Well, we've developed a brand new technology called Echo. Basically, when cloud-based services started coming out, we started to think about ways that we could make use of it. We've often, connected to servers and observed what's going on and watched people play, and we've debated endlessly on our forums with players what's good, what's bad. But we were never able to use big data to support or contest specific views that either the community had or that we had about the way the game was being played. But one of our staff, a guy called Dave Johnston, who created Dust for Counter-Strike, Dave wanted to create a technology that would allow us to visualize the way that people played. So what we have today with Echo is a system that allows us to look at a specific code snapshot or a specific map or a period of time or a specific geographical region, and then look at all of those matches and compress them down into a heat map, so we can have a top-down view that shows us footfall, where people are playing, how they're playing, deaths, kills. We can do it by weapon, we can do it by frame rate, we can do it by server performance. So there's all kinds of interesting insights that it gives us that we weren't previously able to get access to. It doesn't change the way that we design the game, but it just helps support or contest the kind of heuristics. And that's made it possible for us to have an unlimited roster, because previously, managing the balance of 5 character classes in asymmetrical maps was hard enough. Now also, in our current closed alpha, people are playing with 15 different characters. We've got 5 more that are on their way. So it would have become impossible to do if we hadn't had the ability to go back and look at all of that data and help it make decisions.
So you mentioned extra characters there. Are you going to just sort of almost infinitely add characters as you think of them, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's infinite, but because there's going to be a point where they don't add to the game experience anymore, and we would stop. It isn't something we just do for the sake of it. But for the moment, at least, we feel like there's just so much potential to create really interesting variations. So we're starting with ones that people are familiar with. For example, Proxy. She's a female soldier that has a great shotgun and proximity mines. She has a cricket bat as a melee weapon, and she's the fastest at hacking on the team. We have Thunder, who's a soldier with a massive minigun. He also has a grenade, which basically kind of confuses the enemy and allows him to then run around and start taking them out with massive miniguns. So he can do really cool combos. We have RT that can do artillery attacks. We have other characters with things like grenade launchers, characters that can do airstrikes, characters that can put down sentry guns. So we're starting with the kinds of abilities and tools that the community is familiar with, just to get them used to the concept of playing against an enemy that varies and changes regularly. But we've had to make some changes to the way that team play works in our games too. You know, for years people have played enemy territory. We've had more than 20 million players play those games, and they're used to a very specific combat class-based system. In Extraction, there are no classes as such. You have characters that suit certain roles well, but we've done away with the idea that you must be the engineer to do this, or you must be a covert ops or something to do a specific objective. For the first time in one of our games, anybody can complete an objective. They just do it to varying degrees of success and speed.
Very interesting. So you mentioned we actually played stopwatch mode, or timed mode, I guess it was there. What are the kind of game modes are we going to see?
So you're going to have a straightforward campaign mode where you play 2 or 3 maps in succession, and those maps will allow you to build up like cool skills and abilities as you play, and we call those ultimates. They're just short-term cool bonuses that you get. For tournament play, we have stopwatch, which means that you play a map as attack, and at the end you get a time for how fast you defeated the enemy, and then you play from the other side and they have to try and beat your time. We have a team deathmatch plan for people that are first coming into the game, so that they're not too confused by the need to complete objectives and other stuff that's going on. We'll probably allow them just to engage in basic deathmatch to become familiar with characters and so on as well.
Oh, cool. So you were kind of mentioning there briefly before we started the interview, you guys used to be a mod team. Just tell us about that. We're a huge modding site. It's what we do. So.
Well, I started out. I was an IT guy working in the city in central London, and I did some pretty awesome contracts. We had 10 Downing Street, so I used to work in the Prime Minister's office occasionally, and in prisons and at the Home Office and investment banks and so on. And I hated it. It's really soul destroying, because you'd commission a server and you'd know 3 years from now, not only did nobody know that you'd put it in, 3 years from now someone would decommission it, and so any evidence that you even put it in the first place would be gone and it would no longer exist. So it was really tough, you know, as an IT guy. But my hobby was running a Quake clan. I had a clan called Clan Earthquakers. We were the UK #1 team. And then John Carmack, who, you know, became a friend of ours later, he released the source code for Quake 1 and destroyed our Quake 1 Team Fortress community overnight, because everybody had aimbots and proxies and hacks and stuff. Well, another friend of ours got a job at id Software, Robert Duffy. He was the guy who created Radiant, like the first really good quality community level editing tool. And he got in touch and said, hey, I can probably get you the SDK for Quake 3 Arena. So we started a mod team, and I just helped out at the beginning as a PR guy, just because I was a columnist for the UK Team Fortress news desk, and I wrote a column for Barry's World. This is 12 years ago now. Anyway, to cut a long story short, somehow I ended up a TV presenter and did 300 episodes of a video game show going to Australasia, so I'm very famous in the Philippines. Started a games company and did Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. But along the way, we did this mod called Quake 3 Fortress, and it was really good timing. You know, people wanted to play a Team Fortress game on Quake 3 Arena. We got all of our mates that were in clans involved, and overnight we had tournaments running worldwide, and then fan sites started turning up. So we went out to various conventions, like QuakeCon was the big one back then, when 5,000 or 6,000 people would turn up, and we'd take our build that never ran or didn't work, and everything crashed and went wrong, but we just partied and had fun and hang out with people, and slowly our mod became more and more popular. And eventually, you know, we got talking to id Software, and we said, look, can you get us a deal? We'd really like to do this as a job. We like working in games and we hate working in IT. and they said they'd try, and they got us our first deal with Activision, and that was it. We did this little expansion for Wolfenstein, but called Enemy Territory, and we were super lucky. It just sort of took off and became this huge thing worldwide, and we've sort of built our reputation since. And we still have missteps. You know, we've made maybe 4 or 5 games over the years, and you know, most of them we're quite proud of. Occasionally we make a mistake and something goes a bit bad at release or what have you. But for the most part, it's been an awesome ride, and we're really enjoying it. And I am so pleased I'm not in IT anymore.
So I guess the big question from my point of view is, will there be mod tools for this game? Is that something you're looking at?
If it's something that we have control over, and if it's physically possible, it's absolutely going to happen. We released the software development kit for Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, and we have more than 100,000 fan messages from people modding in the Wolfenstein Enemy Territory scene. We released the software development kit for Enemy Territory Quake Wars. At that point, we brought up a wiki and we started really heavily documenting it. Brink wasn't our property, it's owned by Bethesda Softworks, so we never got to release the SDK for that. But for Extraction, it's something we really, really want to do. I can't think of anything that would stop us from doing it. It's really, at the moment, it seems to be just a question of whether we can find the resources and the time. But it's on our list, and it's really, you know, an important thing.
What engine is it actually running on at the moment?
Unreal. It's running on Unreal 3, which makes it super easy for the community to create content and stuff.
And yeah, do we know what? Is it just going to be PC? Are we going to be released to the consoles?
At the moment, we're focused exclusively on PC. As a studio, we're just finishing up Batman Arkham Origins as well, so that's been quite a big project for us. And but now Extraction is you know, the primary focus of the studio, and we'll see where it goes after we do the commercial launch.
And do you guys have a release date yet? Any sort of time frame?
Just when it's done, really. As soon as we're happy with it, we'll launch it.
And I think you mentioned earlier it's going to be free to play, completely free to play, or is there going to be some microtransactions in there?
Yeah, you'll definitely be able to spend money in the game if you want to. I mean, we don't want, if people want to send us money, they should. But we have a belief that in multiplayer games, particularly in PvP games, players enter a playing field really wanting to know that it's going to be balanced and fair. And so as a studio, we are really anti-pay to win. And we like the idea of free to win, which is the idea that anybody who plays the game, particularly if you're just like a 15-year-old and you've got no money, you shouldn't feel like there's social pressure to spend money. So I think it's really important that free to win is a kind of core tenet of the game. And then from that foundation, if people want to buy things, that's great. But you know, if something is gameplay affecting, we'll make sure that you can earn it or you can spend money on it or whatever.
Very good. Well, I think we've got what we needed there. Paul, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Welshy out.
So yeah, the interview was great stuff there, Welshy. Great stuff.
That's what I do.
Yeah. We also chatted with him after the interview a little bit off camera, and listening through his MO, it's basically what we do. He was in the modding industry.
He was in IT first,
he was
and
in IT modding industry.
Did a bunch of TV episodes on gaming or something like that. 390 to be specific.
Yeah, just something like he was very famous in Sweden or something weird. Yeah.
He's a big thing in Japan. Yeah, no, it was really interesting, and he talked about some of the difficulties of being under the control of a publisher,
right?
And how the creativity is taken away from development teams and things like that. So,
and how this title is now his. It's not somebody else's. Yeah. So
that was the bit that surprised me the most. Where I asked him something, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's like, no, this is my game.
Yeah.
If somebody suggests something where I don't care, it's my game. You know, that's going to make a huge difference on this title.
One of the things that really impressed me with this game is I would have. When we saw it walking by, it was at the top of Indy Row, and I could have swore it was running on Frostbite 2.
Right, looked like Battlefield 2.
Bad Company 2, yeah. And the game mechanics, the way it was playing, what it looked like, it looked like it was Battlefield Bad Company 2 with some new maps. And I thought, oh, yay, somebody's doing it. I was blown away when he said that was on Unreal. That does not look... It does not look unreal at all. That just fantastic game, and the fact that it's coming out is free to get, free to play.
Do you consider him indie? Now that's a big question.
I would.
It is a small group of people putting this thing together, but he has a lot of industry experience.
Well, see, that's the thing though. They're a full studio. They're Splash Damage. They've done games prior to this. Some of them not so good, but they've done them. So I don't think you can class them as indie because
I don't. Just because you've worked in the industry or you've got experience in the industry doesn't make you indie.
No, it
or doesn't make you not indie.
Right. You're right.
They in my mind are indie because they're not a giant publishing corporation. They're self-publishing. They are, for the most part, self-funded. I don't think they were going crowdsource funding at all.
No,
he didn't mention that at all.
No.
Actually, they are crowdsource funding. He said you could go on the. I'm going from memory now on the. Shouldn't you got a phone call?
No, go on.
Okay. Wrist phone. I'll call you back. I thought we could throw money at him. He mentioned if we wanted, we could throw money at him on his website.
Was that
On his
pre-order
website.
or was that something else?
I don't know. But it's something that
This part might be.
But what does it matter? I mean, what does it really matter? Because this game's going to be free to play.
Yes.
So we don't even have to put any money into it if we don't want to.
Yeah.
It's coming out very soon.
Yeah, they're shooting for a release date. It was actually very fun to play. And the mechanics weren't your typical game mechanics of a Unreal Engine game.
Right.
And the visual, they worked very hard on the visual on all their maps. So it was,
Which I think is in the interview. I think, or at least we were talking to him about how difficult, how much work you have to put in to make it not look like plastic. Yeah, I can't remember if that's in the interview or not.
Unfortunately, that was after.
It was after?
I think it was after.
It was after.
But,
so he's saying he was talking to somebody and it looks like the characters were just dipped in glue or grease.
Oil dumped on them. That's what he said. Yes.
So yeah, I think that's possibly a contender for Game of the Show there.
Yep.
From our opinion,
and look for them to be probably Indie Developer of the Month here
for us
in an upcoming month.
Yeah, because if I were to throw down what the media is going to produce as the game of the show,
it's going to be like
Wolfenstein.
No, it'll be
Titanfall.
Assassin's Creed, or it'll be Titanfall.
Absolutely,
or it'll be
Titanfall.
Did we even? Or it'll be Battlefield. It'll be one of those three. The big.
The Xbox shot corner.
Yeah, I didn't see any Call of Duty. I noticed.
No, you know what? There was definitely a ton of console stuff there. 70% of the show floor, I would say at least, was console based, whether it was the new PlayStation, the Xbox, or the Nintendo Wii U.
Yeah, which we mentioned in the pre-show. Yeah.
So
okay.
So
Which brings us
to day
2.
Take it away, us.
Time.
Oh, there's a banana just pooped.
The banana's pooped.
He's peeling.
What's he doing?
I don't know, but he flexed and pooped.
I hope you had some stuff out when you do on the computer.
Some, not all. I think that was a hernia. What is he doing?
What the hell?
He's blowing a cloud.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a rainbow face.
Rainbow face.
You have to leave a lot of this in. You have to.
All right, we have PAX A2. We are here, and either we drank too much last night or not enough. I don't know for this day, but here we go. We've got some things lined up. We're going to be starting off the day with Rekoil, if you guys remember. We've spoken to them on a few occasions, and we have some other items lined up.
Jumping around in the indie area.
Spend a lot of time there today, I think. See what's going on. I think
And I don't know, anything of note yesterday that you guys want to bring up, or?
it was Extraction by Splash Damage. We've got awesome interview with them coming up. You'll see that. I think we were impressed, particularly him, which I've never seen before, ever.
It was an interesting story, this guy who says how he started out just doing TV stuff and going on IT stuff, then going on to TV, doing like 300 or something tech shows. Sounds familiar. And then ending up with his own kind of a modding and then development studio. I mean, this is a guy that owns the rights to this game. It's he's not Splash Damage. He's just a developer that's been working under the name of Splash Damage, or is he?
He is actually Splash Damage. They were partnered with other publishers before, which is why he kind of alluded to some of the games kind of sucked. But this time around, they don't have that. He owns the whole IP, he owns everything, and it's all his game. So, should be good.
Right. It's nice to see somebody who's not going to lose his work along the way.
All right.
All right. Yep. We'll see you later.
We're gonna hit to the queue.
Q.
All right. So we want to hit the Rekoil.
Rekoil.
We want to hit the Rekoil. So we are going to the queue.
Yes. Okay.
Well, the thing is, I don't even know if that audio is picked up. It must have been. It is.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Over and over again with. All right.
Queue.
To the queue.
So Welshy got to go over and talk to Jason, which I think is trailer trash, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Trailer trash. Yeah.
Right.
He is trailer trash.
Yes.
Hang on, before we get sued.
You know what? Here's the interview.
So I'm here with Jason. It's good to see you, Jason.
Very nice to see you.
It's been an entire year. We're checking out Rekoil again.
Yep.
So what are the changes? It's been a whole year. So
It's been extensive. We went into beta in October-ish of last year, and that was to gain momentum for the green light, essentially, the effort that we were doing. And to be honest with you, the game was okay at that point, but there was a lot of issues with it. And it was nice for us to spend those 3 months that we had it in beta, essentially, and hear all the feedback, and then take that feedback and put it back into the game to make things better. So we ditched a lot of our animations and started from scratch on those. We redid all of the characters. We kept a couple that we really liked, but brought in about 8 or 9 new characters on that side of things. And then reworked the entire spawn system, reworked all this stuff. I mean, the list is actually rather extensive, but the end product that we have here now, I'm very, very pleased with, and the response has been great. We started showing the game again around QuakeCon, and that was a nice, smaller environment, and with hardcore FPS players there checking it out, and the response was great. Then we sent Rekoil to Gamescom, and there was an hour-long queue to play the game in Germany, which was fantastic, and the feedback was great. Some of it we couldn't understand because we weren't fluent in German, but but at the same token, you could tell people were really, really digging it. And now, being day 2 at PAX, we had a full day under our belt. The response has been amazing, and so we know that time that we spent making the game better is really paying off, and so so we just have a much more solid product now than we ever have had, and so we're really proud of it, and can't wait to get it in the hands of everybody in about it's about 8 weeks at this point. So time just goes by so quickly, but yeah, here we are, and just can't wait to get the game into everybody's hands. So
very cool. So one of the things we were kind of wondering, in first-person shooters at the moment, it's kind of this big thing of the spawn logic. How are you guys trying to kind of deal with that? Because the Unreal Engine has a slight issue with it. How are you guys working on that?
Well, and we're still working on it here. I mean, there's there's some game modes that it's working perfectly, and then there's other game modes like Deathmatch that we're just trying to tweak it so that it can accommodate above 12, 14 players, So it's really a challenge on the programming team to make that logic as perfect as it can be. I'm confident we'll nail it. I mean, the game types like Capture the Briefcase, Domination, and Team Deathmatch, those things are working perfectly. The logic is, essentially you die and then you spawn the furthest away from your enemy on the map as possible. Sometimes if there's no available points, like in Deathmatch, if there's people all over the map, it kind of falls back to that original default spawn point. So that's where that logic becomes a little bit of an issue, but but we have a solution for it, and we're getting that worked out. But in the other game types, everything's working really, really well, and it shows here when we're playing. So, but yeah, I think we've got past that. Having the Unreal nuances, like you talked about, it pays to have a really seasoned programming team, and that's done nothing but working with Unreal Engine. And the guys we have doing our stuff are actually licensed contractors with Epic. They handle all Epic support stuff for Unreal 3. and I have nothing but ultimate faith in what they do. And so, you know, it's great to see the results of events like this and the QA test that we're going into at the moment. And you know, we'll take all that feedback and just do our last minute changes and deliver a perfect game as much as close to perfect as we can. So, you know.
So is the mod support still a big thing for you guys? Are you still pushing that? How is the community on that, I guess, is what I want to...
Well, mod support is key. Day one, mod tools will be available. We're going to be integrating with Steam Workshop so that anything that gets created, you can upload and use Steam Workshop to deliver that as well. So it's a huge focus, actually. It's, you know, because of my background in modding, I wouldn't ever release a game without tools, you know what I mean? It's just, that's the kind of thing that I believe strongly in. So, you know, again, we released tools way back when in February. The tools themselves were working really great. The problem that we had with that was just how do we deliver and you know, get that content out to people. And by being greenlit and put on Steam and everything, we now have that vehicle to deliver said content. So, so we expect to see, you know, a robust effort from the community in terms of making content. I mean, the really cool thing is not only will we have a complete, you know, map and mod tools available, but for some people that don't want to get into the engine and that type of thing, we're releasing Photoshop templates of our weapon skins. People can go ahead and draw their own art and upload their own skins to the Steam Workshop as well. And those will all be available to select and put on your weapons and everything else. So there'll be multiple levels of mod support in terms of how we're going about this. And you know, but yeah, the mod tools are strong, and you know, you can do mapping, you can do whatever game types you want, whatever characters you want, adding in changes to menus and that type of thing, and running it as your own mod, essentially, you know. And so, and that also goes hand in hand with dedicated servers. You know, it's how, you know, how would you run that if you were doing a peer-to-peer setup? You really can't. So having dedicated boxes provided to people, we'll provide our own, but people will be able to rent their own as well. And say they want to run a custom content-only server, they're more than happy to do so. And so, you know, we're just trying to support it as every way as we possibly can. So,
sounds pretty cool. Yeah. Well, Jason, it's good to see you again. Thanks for
very much
talking to us. Welshy out. I did it again, just for you.
All right, so here we are. We're back. That was that was Trailer Trash, Rekoil, Jason,
Me.
Welshy.
Yes.
They were there.
Okay, so we all got to play the game for actually a pretty long time right before the game started.
Yep.
And I want this game to be good. I really do. And it is pretty good, but there are a lot of problems with it. We were playing in 2 maps I think we played. There was lots of spawn killing. There was lots of sudden headshots. There was lots of spawning behind somebody and just shooting them, or spawning in front of someone and being shot. There was lots of team killing going on. It was a very small map. It was frustrating at points.
I also, you know, one of the inherent problems with ragdoll and ragdoll animations is that your ragdolls can be in bad places, in walls, in trees.
Did you see some of that? I didn't notice that.
I did. I pointed it out to a couple. Anyway,
Okay.
so you got those issues, which you want ragdoll incorporated into your game. You're gonna get that, and I don't think there's a way to compensate that sort of an issue. However, the game mechanics themselves, I don't understand the reasoning behind going with a non-moving iron sight. For example, a sniper rifle, there's no sniper wave, it's just pull up your sight, it's fixed, it doesn't move. It's very early 90s-ish, where
It is.
it's there's no recoil whatsoever on scoped or ranged weapons like that. As well, there's no advantage to pulling up iron sights. The crosshair sight firing from the hip is just as accurate and faster than pulling up.
Except I think the sights did like zoom in a tiny bit to help you focus the center.
Again,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I don't know. It's the game mechanics. Again, we want it to be good. Because it's an indie game. It's people from our community.
Yeah.
That we know them.
Yes.
We would like it to be successful. It's just, where's it going? It's been in development forever. That's another concern of mine. It's been in development forever. Now Jason has said that they're trying to get it onto the Xbox as well. They're looking at a fall release, so that it's going to be
It's coming out very soon.
PC and Xbox
Right.
360, which is good. This is actually a PC-centric game that's being ported to the Xbox, not the other way around. So, thumbs up for that. That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's as long as this has been in development, I'm a little. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of progression with it, personally.
Mm-hmm.
There were some changes. There were some improvements. Like, I noticed some of the animations are different.
Yes.
There's.
It felt a little more fluid when I was playing. It didn't
felt
feel
a
choppy or something.
Like a little bit smoother.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a little bit more polished than it was last year. Definitely. There's no doubt that they've done. It feels like they've done a lot of work to vaguely not even notice anything. If you see what I mean? It's just like they've done a ton of work, but you can't really tell.
The interview they went on to talk about how they updated all the animations on the characters, and then they updated the character models inside of the game based on feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they updating the models? Are people paying that much of attention to the model that they're playing against, and that it makes that much of a difference?
Yeah.
I understand the animations. Maybe the running looked goofy or something like that. And so, sure, update the. So why the models? I mean, what are they focusing on? They seem to focus on the wrong things.
I think they're, and again, that's a good point. I believe that they are focusing on the look of the game, rather than the mechanics of the game. So you end up with a, we don't want to play as a whole bunch of Marines that are brown versus a whole bunch of Marines that are green. We're going to make it so that you're a guy with his shirt off, or a girl, because there's always a girl with a gun and a sword. I don't know that that's impacting the game in a positive way. That's putting sparklies and shinies.
Yeah, but we did only play one map for a really long time, which was probably the worst map to test. And then we played another map that was a little bit better.
Well, yesterday we played
the second map.
The day before we played the logging map, which we always play too. So we got to play three maps.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to play 3 maps.
And I don't know if that one was felt any better.
What really threw me is the spawn logic. The clearing out an area and all of a sudden everybody's behind you. Just really, that irks me. I shouldn't be able to advance so that someone can spawn behind me and kill me. It's just.
Yes, it is. All right. So I hope that they do a little bit better upon release. All right, another one that we came up with was Osiris, Myst of Stagnation. This was one that came across my desk as a first-person shooter type of game in the indie development type of situation. Now, this is a group that was coming from a modding background, working with the Source engine, decided they want to make a game, hipped over to the Unreal Engine because they wanted to make something that was a little bit more refined, and that's what you'll find out inside of this video while he notices some wacky stuff on the television.
That was somebody's face upside down, wasn't
yes, it was.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
All right.
All right, I am with David from Osiris Studios, and they have Myst of Stagnation playing behind me. And this is to us, it's a very new game, developed on the Unreal Engine. It looks like a first-person shooter, steampunk land.
Correct.
All right.
First-person shooter, real-time strategy hybrid.
Oh, real-time strategy hybrid, because what I'm seeing here looks a lot like capture the flag kind of style.
Exactly. So the purpose of it is, for this game mode at least, is to go after these control points, which are going to collect resources for your team. Then the RTS side of the things come into play. That's the commander on each team. It's a huge steampunk mech. Might be lucky enough to see one here, but what's going to happen is the commander uses all the resources your team's collecting to upgrade your team's weapons. So he can purchase different weapons, assign them to the team, and then upgrade those weapons as you go along.
And these resources, are they picked up like little items along the way, or are they obtained some other way?
They're obtained through controlling the control point. So by owning the control point, your team is automatically collecting these resources. So.
Okay. Now I know that you happen to have a modding background. Is that where this game came from, or is this something else that came out of a studio's back room, or what do we have?
So initially, we started off modding on the Source engine, the first part of this game, which is actually going to be the prequel after everything's all said and done. We put that one on the back burner for now and went to Unreal Engine and went with the multiplayer, which is the second part of the story that we're doing. So, but yeah, it's the modding community is a huge thing for me because I came from it. So that's one of the big things we're going to do is make sure that the game ships with all the mod tools needed to do whatever you want with it.
Where did steampunk come from? We were asking ourselves that. Do you happen to know by any chance?
Well, I mean, it's Jules Verne, a lot of that stuff. H.P. Lovecraft, which they're actually doing the Love Crawl tonight out in Ballard, so I'll be there. But yeah, to me, it's always been really cool. You know, I like Mad Max, like beyond everything else. So that's a big influence for us is, you know, practical steampunk. So, you know, the two kinds of steampunk you're going to see are fantasy and practical. Fantasy is like, you know, put a gear on a hat and now it's a steampunk hat. Versus ours, it's, you know, all the weapons could actually work in the real world. So, I mean, they look very distinguished as steampunk, but yeah, they could actually be real.
Yeah, now you said that the original version that you were working on was on the Source engine.
Correct.
But why did you switch over to UDK or Unreal?
So Unreal just had a lot better tool set for what we were looking to do. I mean, Source is great. I mean, and they've come leaps and bounds over the past since we left too. So, but yeah, UDK just gives us the kind of menus we want to see. It's very flexible and it's very well documented. So, I mean,
and then you're thinking of going back to Source for the prequel, or do you think you probably will switch back over to Unreal?
We'll probably stay on Unreal for that. Yeah, after we spend all this time learning that tool set, we're probably going to stick with it.
And then you said you did want to support the modding community.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's going to put too much of a strain on the company? Do you think that might have to change in the future, or is that already set forth?
Well, the good thing on UDK and Unreal Engine is, I mean, it basically, when you ship the game, you ship the mod tools with it. So it's, for us, all it is providing documentation on, you know, what the inner workings of the game does, so that when people want to get in there and change it up, it's able to them. You know, the biggest part is probably going to be for the community mappers, and you know, I'd love to see some great maps. I mean, I'm in a bunch of different online modding communities. And the works I see people do are just amazing. So, you know, getting them to see new things in our game would be awesome.
Now, how long ago did this start, and when do you think that this is going to be something available for the public?
So we started about 2 years ago on all the art. We've gone through a bunch of changes since then. Our actual coders have been around for about 6 months now, so the gameplay and everything's about 6 months. But the art we've been working on for a couple of years.
Okay. And when do you think it'll be public, be it a beta or an actual release?
So we're on Steam Greenlight right now. We're starting our Kickstarter in 2 weeks, which is going to be September 16th. So the reason we're doing that is we waited until we actually had a game that we could give you, like, you pledge in Kickstarter, boom, you got the game now, and you just get the updates all along the way. So that's about a month and a half away for when that will start happening. Public betas will be right towards the end of the year, and then we're looking to release sometime early next year.
And do you have a price point in mind? Is it going to be in the $40 range, in the $60 range?
We're looking at $25, so.
Okay. All right, and that's about what we're going to see on Kickstarter when that comes up.
Well, Kickstarter, we got some cool deals for that. We're just dropping it to 20 on Kickstarter, but the first 1,000 people will be able to pick it up for 15. So.
And one more. How long have you been on Steam Greenlight?
We've been about a month. We started in mid-July. So.
Okay, so you don't necessarily have negative or positive ideas of how that's working out for you yet?
It's really hard to tell. I mean, we've got a lot of votes on it. They give you a little percentage counter, but that necessarily doesn't mean anything as far as what they tell us. But.
Well, then you're not looking for a publisher. You're going to self-publish.
Correct, yeah.
All right, because we've heard some stories.
Right.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else you want to tell us about it?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you very much. And that's it from PAX Floor. Myst of Stagnation. Thanks a lot.
So yes, steampunk. Still don't know.
Don't know. All right.
But I'm going to watch Mad Max again.
All right, we headed over to Tripwire and watched some Killing Floor Calamity. That is a new, really completely new thing that Tripwire is doing over with Killing Floor. Now, Tripwire, I should point out that through the interview, I'm realizing that Tripwire is really a bigger studio than we've realized. They have a couple titles under their name. Mm-hmm. They have like 40 people working over at Tripwire, which is still, I think, an indie studio when you consider it, with only 8 people, I think he said, working on Killing Floor. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised by that, only 8 people. But now what they're doing is they were going on and talking about how they work on different versions of the game and how they come up with something different, and that's what we're going to be watching here.
Okay, I'm with Robin and Alan from Tripwire here, and what you see behind me is Killing Floor. Actually, Killing Floor Calamity, which has quite a diversion from what we previously have played. We're used to the 4-6 player co-op, first-person shooter, Unreal Engine, dark. What's this going on behind me that's so much different?
I'll let Alan explain.
Yeah, what we've got, we were messing around last year with Robin's crew over in Sweden. They did dwarfs for us a couple of years ago. And he was just throwing some ideas around about alternative takes on Killing Floor, because Killing Floor's on the PC is 4 years old now. It's been, we've sold over 2 million units.
With constant updates.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what keeps selling it. That's what keeps people playing it. We love doing the updates. People love playing them. Silly events, sensible events, new game modes, any of that stuff. People love it. So we've been kind of thinking, and Robin had been throwing a few ideas at us about, hey, why don't you do this with Killing Floor? We could do a Killing Floor RTS or a Killing Floor that, and we've been tooling around with it. And Robin had been putting some proofs of concept together. We ended up talking to the Ouya guys back in January this year, and talking to them, they really wanted Killing Floor on the box. And we thought, well, we've got something we've been messing around with, why don't we kind of put the two things together? So we did, and Robin had been doing a whole bunch more work on it, and we ended up with the top-down 4-person shooter that we've got now, which is here running on the Ouya for the first time for people to play.
On a different engine, no?
Yep, it's on Unity. I mean, we did the Ball, which we ported down to Ouya, which is an Unreal 3 game. Unreal 3, Android, it's real hard work. There's huge stress going in there to get the thing to run and to run well and to look good and all those things. Robin was trying a couple of engines and settled on Unity as being something that is really designed that much more for something like the Android platform, and is very, very portable and very easy to work with, but he can talk about that.
And very high on draw calls and sometimes difficult to get all those assets on the screen.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
the game right now, if the game you see behind me, the entire map is one texture.
Yes.
All the enemies is one texture. So we've built it down to 70 draw calls at most at any one time on the screen. Sometimes even only 60.
Okay.
So this game on a PC runs about 2,600 frames per second, and that's if we have 200 or 2,000 of these guys on screen. So,
but that's not a PC. That's a Ouya.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That you just need to think about the draw calls and how you work on the Android device, but you can push it really far.
Well, this is Ouya on Unity. That means that you can publish this to just about any other platform as well. Do you have plans to go with the PC, with the Mac, with the browser, with the iPhone? Yeah, I can go on.
We did this because we got into this because we love the idea of the Ouya box. I mean, don't forget, we're a company. We jumped on Steam when nobody else had. Valve were doing that. 2005, we were talking to them about it because it looked like a really interesting way of the things we're going to go in the future. We jumped on OnLive about 3 years ago, which was so we've kind of won one, drawn one. And when we saw Ouya come up, we saw the whole Kickstarter thing. You're thinking, this is another of those that could be a big game changer. I mean, Ouya faced the problem that they're the first one trying to make a market. There's rumors now about Google and Amazon and so on jumping on to do Android-powered micro consoles. We'll see how true, where the truth is in all that. So Ouya are kind of pushing it forward. There's always the risk when you're the first one in there, and they're taking the huge risk. So we want to reward that. So this is going to be on Ouya for the time being. All that said and done, we're going to take a look and see, are people enjoying it? If people like playing it, you say it's on Unity, we can move it to any platform we want. Where we go next, don't know. I mean, let's see what excites people. Let's see what really gets people going. There's no point in just leaping to the PC just because. We could do all the other Android platforms, do a tablet version, do whatever else comes up in that. We could do iOS. We could go with the current consoles. Take your pick. I mean, browser or anything else you like. So the key for us is to see what people think about it. If they're enjoying it, we'll start to broaden out.
And these low price points that you keep coming up with over on Steam anyways, these are actually an advantage?
Yeah, I mean, we take a view, you're really referring to when we first launched Killing Floor 2009.
It seems like it's always on sale, and somehow you must be making enough money to go over to this.
Yeah, I think there's a great, I think someone at EA said, these sales devalue our product and all this, and you're going, no, it doesn't. We found on Steam, I think, the guys at Valve have said this a number of times, I don't think people really believe them. You do a big sale on Steam. We did a big sale in July. We had new game mode for Killing Floor. new maps, new material, new DLC, all of that stuff in July. And we did a big week-long free week and a sale all at the same time. And we sold 250,000 units. And the thing is that, I mean, it's one of the things we worried about years ago was that if we're going to have this big surge of sales, then there's nobody left to buy the game. But actually what we find is that you have a big surge of sales and the base sales rate at full price goes up. Because more people are playing, more people see their friends playing. They miss the sale, but they go, hey, it's only $20 anyway. Oh, everyone's having a blast on it. Oh, I'll buy it anyway. So, I mean, yes, people like to buy it when it's cheap, but I hate to say it, but loads of people still buy it at full price. With all the DLC and things we've added to it, the whole Killing Floor pack now is about a $40 or $50 package, which is scary when you think about it. It's a 4-year-old game. We're still selling ridiculous numbers, and people are having ridiculous fun.
They are, yeah. But now, previously you were on the Unreal Engine, which means it was still open to the ability of community development, modding. Now you're on Unity. That changes the game, doesn't it?
For this one, I mean, Robin and I have talked about this. It's on Unity. You know, we've done this specifically for the Ouya small platform. One of the things we talked to Ouya about early on was, have they got any plans for people to be able to do things like modding and do stuff and push out their own content? There's no obvious plan for that yet, but you know, we haven't got an SDK for it yet. It comes down to demand. If there's enough demand, yeah, we'll put the toolkit together. It's as simple as that.
Which is a bunch of assets for Unity? That's what you're thinking along, or you don't even know?
We just don't know. I mean, we haven't really explored it that far. I mean, Unreal, you know, as Tripwire, we're still an Unreal shop. We will be for years to come. You know, Robin, this is one of the reasons why Robin's doing it, because they're tooled up differently to us. So he's doing the Unity stuff. But you know, Unreal it's clearly set up with modding in mind. There's the whole UDK, everything else. It's really easy for us to just go, here's a game, and here's the SDK. Well, there's the whole thing. With this, different matter. We'll have to think about if there's the demand there, if the demand, if people are asking for it, if enough people are pushing, yeah, we'll look at how do we do that? How do we do it in general? What toolkit would people need? How do you push that stuff out on Ouya, for example? Because I don't know.
Right. And when can we play it? At home?
You should be able to play it at home in the next 2 or 3 months is our target. Right now, we've got the alpha version here. I mean, all the features and functionality are in. We want to get an idea of where are people finding the fun? Which bits are really fun to play? Which bits are they going, and where are they going, oh God, because, that's what we want. You want people, we love multiplayer gaming, co-op gaming. This is, good old-fashioned couch gaming. These things come around. It's you and a bunch of friends on a Saturday night with pizza, beer, and smacking each other around and going, why didn't you shoot that? Why? Are you concentrating? No, you're drinking. And you want people just messing about. Yes. So,
well, now you're going to have to figure out how to do that on what, Skype, from the couch?
Goodness knows. I mean, who knows what's next? I mean, we're gonna, we could have a ridiculous time doing all sorts of stuff. I mean, people have asked, are we going to do an online version of this? Probably at some point. So if there's 2 of you here and 1 of you there and 1 in Punxsutawney, who cares? Get together and play.
Okay, so a few months we'll get it on the Ouya, and we don't know about the future releases quite yet.
No, I mean, well, we're getting onto the Ouya as soon as possible, as soon as it comes down to, we have to be happy that it's fun and everyone's going to enjoy it and all the rest of that. We're kind of picky about that stuff. We're under no huge pressure to release it, so we're going to get it right. What happens beyond that, I say, it depends entirely on what people think of it. So, tell us what you think of it. If you're here at the show, come play it, tell us. Try it at home, because all the games on Ouya, it's free to play, to try, free to try. So have a try, tell us what you think of it.
Now, studio size, how big are we talking?
We're 40 people, Tripwire. What have you got now, Ron?
We have 25, but it's, there's about 8 developers on this one.
8 developers on Killing Floor?
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of scary what you can do with a small number of people.
And you're all over the country?
No, we're in Sweden.
Oh, you just Sweden. Yeah. All right.
We're our developer studio. We have 1 office in Uppsala and 1 in Stockholm.
Wonderful. Anything else you want to tell me about the game?
No, hopefully we just get feedback from people who want to play it. And just say like Alan, we're here to see how the fans react. Like that's, and to us, I think that one thing I'm really happy about, which I was really scared about, was how people was going to react about the change. Like, are they going to just go, this is not Killing Floor because it's not first person? And the reaction has been very positive, and that was really nice to see that people could see this is another version of Killing Floor. It's still Killing Floor.
Yep, you went over there, you said Alien Swarm. Look at that, we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, you take your inspiration from where you can get it. I mean, one of the things that Robin and I were talking about months back was the old, what was it, Gauntlet? Yeah. You remember that, the old arcade game, 4-player? Yeah. And we were still thinking, we all used to stand up just pumping money into this thing, going, we're done now. No, just hang on, just a couple more minutes, more money goes in. Because it was just a gas. And it was just, and we kind of wanted to recapture a lot of that feeling. Okay. So.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. Have a great show. That's it for here.
So now we have this Ouya version of the game. I'm actually disappointed. This is not something that we're going to play.
No, and unfortunately, I think they've taken the Killing Floor title, or the Killing Floor franchise, which was very successful for what reason? It was priced right, and it ended up being like a cult classic. It's got its own cult following.
But that's because we could play it together.
Well, not just that, but it wasn't overpriced. It was
almost
fun.
Just that.
Well, it was that, and it was the 6-player co-op, because for us, that's a huge thing, because there's more than, there's the 3 of us on this show, but there's a couple of, there's Breezy, there's Ham, who when he is here, there's a couple of extra people, there's a couple of people behind the scenes, I guess, that don't typically take part in the show, but they're friends with us, they're part of our kind of group, and having 6 people co-op was like perfect. It was like, we got enough people now. We played Left 4 Dead, we played the other, but it's only 4. But there's usually more than 4 of us.
Yeah, but it's also it's fun whether or not there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of us playing it.
Yeah,
it was fun to play
together. And that's the important part, though.
And it still is.
I think the word playing together was the important part, because what we're ending up with here is the Ouya title that you're going to be able to only play from your couch. I don't care. It doesn't matter how many people it is. We don't live in the same house.
Only 2.
Wow.
We don't live in the same house.
I thought
there is no way we can play together.
Right, correct.
I thought it was at least 4. That's
no, it's just 2. And it's a top-down. It is a top-down shooter.
We would play that.
I don't have a problem with that, because we played Alien Swarm quite a lot. So it's not the top-down, but I didn't realize that was only two-player co-op, but it's on the Ouya. So
it's Ouya. It's console. There's 2 controllers, 2.
Yeah. So it's disappointing.
Yes.
We were hoping for something more. It looked great. But
that being said, if Tripwire are actually watching this, which they might, we did enjoy the interview. We played the hell out of Killing Floor.
Yeah, and that's just it. And in speaking with them, they made an actual conscious decision: should we charge $30 or $40 for this game, or should we make it very reasonably priced?
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? Let's make it very reasonably priced. And see where that takes us. They made it very reasonably priced. They've got over 2 million players online at any given time, is what it said. They, so they are doing quite well by pricing the game reasonably, rather than having a flash in the pan game or a overpriced game and trying to sell it on hype. They said, this is exactly what our game is, and we're going to price it accordingly.
That was definitely probably. I mean, the amount of times we've said, you guys, I think, paid like $5 for that game, but we think it's probably worth about 40, 50, because we just kind of
40, yeah.
We played so much of it,
and we gifted it as a result.
Yeah, to other people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I purchased it for $5, but I also then turned around and bought a couple $20 things and gifted them. Just, hey, it's awesome. This game's awesome. Get it.
And it's the thing with the DLC they put. It's not really DLC, but they put out character packs, and I don't mind buying those. Even though I'm not going to use those characters, but I don't mind giving Tripwire an extra couple of bucks here and there, because we've played hours of it. Yeah. It's given us so much entertainment. It's like, I'll give them like $2. It's whatever. Not constant $2 every time I want to fire a bullet. But
All right. So we moved on from Tripwire, and Welshy got an interview over with Christian from Takedown. Serellin Studios, who are now also part of 505.
505 Publishing.
You know what? Here's a little bit more about how that happened.
Okay, so I'm here with Christian Allen from Serellin LC. How's it going?
Good.
Good. So you guys were our Indie Developer of the Month a couple of months ago. You came on the show, you talked about it.
Yeah.
For anyone that didn't watch it or missed it, what are we looking at? What is Takedown?
So we're looking at Takedown Red Saber. We're a hardcore squad-based CQB tactical shooter focused on realism, lethality, non-linearity, and replayability. We're going to be coming out this September 20th on PC on Steam and Xbox Live Arcade for the $14.99 price point.
Sounds good. So we noticed just at the bottom here, you're with 505 Games now.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Is that something recent, or is that?
Well, we signed a 505 Game, a partnership deal to help distribute and put out Takedown, because we ran our Kickstarter last year. So we had about 5,000 people donate for the Kickstarter. Worked with them, built the alpha. We actually released that alpha to our Kickstarters in July. 12 days late, but we got it out. And then 505 is helping us push this out to the Xbox and worldwide distribution. So we got now we're doing full eFigs localization for French, Italian, German, and Spanish, and obviously the Xbox Live version as well.
So in terms of the Kickstarter campaign, it's been a while now since that happened. How is that still? Is it still helping you? Are you still?
Definitely. I mean, it helped us initially because it's one thing for me to go around and say, hey, I have this great idea for a game. It's another idea, I have this great idea for a game, and these 5,000 people agree with me, and they paid money for it. But it's been also really valuable in the feedback department. So, high-level feature decisions have been made based on our Kickstarter's feedback. One of a small, well, it's not a small example, but one example was the build that we released that we showed at E3. There's a central aiming point in the middle of the screen, and it was kind of a debug thing that we'd left in and we kind of got used to. But the Kickstarter's got a hold of that, and they're like, we don't like this. It's not rewarding, using your aim down sights, and so we pulled that out and actually changed a little bit of the way the weapon's handling based on that feedback. So it's super valuable to be able to have this core group of fans and people that are passionate about the game that'll give you that ongoing feedback, and we can give them gameplay videos. They tell us what's important. One example was split screen on Xbox. A lot of people like split screen, but when we came out and said, hey, this is what split screen is going to cost. It's going to cost from a UI perspective. It's going to cost from a rendering perspective. The game in general on Xbox is going to look less detailed because we're going to have to support split screen all the time. And they said, okay, well, based on that, we don't want split screen. So that's actually some of the things the decisions that we've been made based on those people's feedback, which is hugely valuable and better than some friggin' focus group in Ohio with 10 guys that don't know what the hell they're getting into.
That was going to be my next question, is how valuable is that feedback, and how do you find that, because you're way more open about the game, like you just said right there, we said, this is what it's going to cost you in terms of you're going to lose this, you're going to, is that almost a tip you would say to people, to developers out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, coming from AAA game development where you're very insulated and you're not allowed to communicate outwards and you never show anything until it's either fake or good. Usually start with fake, and then when it's good enough, then you switch from fake to not fake. We never showed anything fake, so it took some education to the community of this is, as part of our project, it wasn't just about making a game, hopefully educating gamers on how games are made. And it's a challenge on that point when we show stuff that's earlier, was rough, or was gray box, trying to explain to people what we're showing them and what kind of feedback that we need. But the key component is, myself and my team, I've shipped, millions of units of shooters. My team from Zipper shipped millions of units. Our producer from Microsoft from day one has shipped millions of units. So, between us, we have like $1.5 billion of video game revenue generated. We know how to make fucking shooters. And so you take that information, you put it out, you gauge the feedback, and then sometimes you have to read between the lines and understand what people are trying to say or saying that they want, versus just like putting up a poll and saying like, vote on this, and then going with whatever they say, because then you end up with design by committee, and you still need the vision and the focus of the game. Like if I ask anybody if they want an option, like if I said, do you want an option for respawns in the game? They'll all say yes. Well, of course I want the option. Well, how about, do you want what do you want me to cut to put that in? Because respawns change the whole flavor of the game. There's a lot of systems that you got to build around them, and I don't think it's worth it. So even though if I made that poll, everybody'd say yes, I say no. So it's still, you got to be a good game designer and game developer on top of that. You can't just outsource all your decisions.
So very cool. So at what stage is the game we're seeing right now? Where are we with that?
Well, right now, basically, it's our beta. So we showed our alpha, which was locked down in May. That's what we showed at June and released in July. This build was locked down in early August, and then right now the team's also, pushing for that final polish. One of the things people have been a little bit surprised about is kind of the rapidity of like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing a build in July and it's shipping in September and there's bugs. And one of the benefits we have is, one, we do lock down builds earlier, and show them later, because you get to a stable build and you say, okay, this is the one we're going to use for the demos for the next month and a half. So that way the team can keep working, and you're not constantly like, oh no, we have a demo today, we need to fix 10 bugs just for the demo. But the other thing is, because we're purely digital and we're not worried about physical distribution, traditional game like this, if I was working on a Ghost Recon that was coming out in October, we would have had to been locked down by June to get the submission for Xbox so they could get to physical production by July so it could be on shelves by October. Well, on Steam, on September 19th, we can check in our final build and hit upload, and it's ready to go. So we get a lot tighter windows, which allows us to work longer on the game.
So I guess the final question is mod support. PC, is there going to be any? Is that something you're still kind of considering?
Yeah, so there's actually some exciting stuff. So our Kill House map, which you guys can check out today, we actually put a video up for our Kickstarters, and I'll share the link with you guys next week. Our Kill House map is built not just as a Kill House map, but it's a modular construction set. So everything's built to snap together. So there's all these walls and plywood objects, and basically what we're going to release is a big empty warehouse and then all these building pieces. So at the very least, someone even with no real art experience can get this level, because I actually built all of our Kill House maps just based out of these pieces that our artist built for me. So I built like a training level, I built 2 different multiplayer maps, I built a Tango Hunt that we're actually using for an unlock for pre-orders if they pre-order before the 20th, from $14.99 on Steam. And but the idea is we'll release the editor, we'll release that content pack, and so day one, people will be able to start snapping those together. You can really put together a map in about a day, hit light map, the next morning you've got it all light mapped, and you've got your new multiplayer level. And then we hope to support modding in more depth as well, too.
That's sort of more depth, the actual pure that's further down the line.
Exactly. I got to look to, what kind of editor support we need and stuff like that. But I mean, the engine inherently supports it. People can pick up UDK right now and start learning how the engine works. We're actually pushing information out to Kickstarters like, hey, or actually not even Kickstarters, we got a mod forum with actually a mod group that's already working on a mod. But we're saying like, hey, doors need to be this wide. If you're going to build in centimeters, like that kind of technical information. People have downloaded UDK and they're using the editor, which is very, very similar to ours. And so that helps with the learning curve, so it's not like, well, what's this new tech? It's kind of built in.
Well, thanks very much. Anything you want to say to the people at home?
Well, definitely check out the game. I mean, we're a small indie studio, and if you want to support something that's not another corridor run and gun, respawn, cinematic, brown shooter, take the time to check us out. Share it on social media, and want to give a special shout out as well to kind of websites and communities like your guys. Without the kind of grassroots support, if you notice, there's a certain big media site that ran their first story about us about 2 weeks ago. Most of this has been grassroots campaigning from sites like yours, and we really appreciate that.
We always appreciate you guys talking to us. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
So something that we mentioned in the pre-show was the Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein. Yeah, we were wandering around. We didn't expect to see Wolfenstein over there, and we did in the new version of it. And we decided, what, let's jump on that, because that was during the press-only entrance. So we had...
There's no lines.
Yeah.
No line, no cover.
So we jumped on that game and checked it out. I was pretty impressed by the way the weapons felt and sound. Oh, not sounded, because I didn't put the headphones on. The way the weapons felt within the game, the way they looked. It looked like a decent game. We didn't get too far into it. It was obviously one of those single-player type linear games, but it looked better than the last one. How far did we get?
I mean, it looked pretty. It looked. I mean, it was playing on the Xbox, wasn't it?
Well, it was meant to be Xbox One, but
just the Xbox controller on a PC. Okay, so it's a little tough to say what exactly we were seeing there, but it was not. I mean, it looked nice, and it looked smooth. It didn't look as crappy as the other Xbox or the other Wolfenstein game did.
I saw a lot of texture popping though.
I didn't notice it.
Rage, it reminded me of, where you'd spin around and the texture would be low res and then they'd pop back into high res. I saw that once or twice in that game while we were playing it. But, yeah.
I also noticed though that the background, the environment seemed all low res. All of it seemed low res, while sort of the more important items seemed high res. That's how it felt to me.
Maybe, I don't know. I like the cover system they've got in there now, which is this kind of hold a button, you can kind of lean down, or lean this way. It's a little bit different. It's a little, it's not the same cover system where for example, you press a button, you just snap to the wall, and then it's something a little bit different. I hope it's going to be good, but to be honest with you, we really didn't play enough. They only gave us that little tiny single player mode.
We'd love to show you some video.
And we really...
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's show them a little video. And right about there, we were told you can't record that. So
we didn't.
You didn't see anything.
That wasn't recorded by us.
No. We got that off of YouTube from some random shaky cam guy.
Yeah.
All right, so you know what? Based on what I saw, what would you be willing to pay for it? I'm not sure. There's not enough there. I'm going to say at this point $35. I might be willing to pay if it's more than like a 6-hour game, because I think that was another issue with the previous Wolfenstein.
It was really short. Yeah.
I maybe $30 and a clam and a couple sparkly gems or something. I really don't know what that. I didn't see enough of it to make up my mind. And the fact that it was playable only with the controller. Now I can understand that. We've said that I can understand that to a certain degree, but by the same token, that's not how I want to play a first-person shooter. So I'm sorry, I can't make a judgment call off that.
Again, same. We played like the opening 5 minutes or something. If even that, it was probably less than that.
Just some demo part of it.
Yeah, which isn't enough to be like, this is gonna be awesome.
But you know what? For what we saw, I thought it looked pretty. It looked a lot smoother and cleaner than the previous iteration of Wolfenstein.
Right. And then right next door was the Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls Online, yep.
And I really need to get in on that, because I keep seeing these videos that make it look washed out, as if they dumb down some of the textures or something in order to fit everything onto the screen. And then I'm reading all these forum entries where people are like, this is not a fun game, it's the same game, why would I want just more maps of the same game? And we got to play a little bit of that, and it was a little bit more involved than just some sort of more maps. They did do some more stuff. The engine looked pretty. I'd say that there may have been a few advancements. I thought there were, because I played the Elder Scrolls, Skyrim. I played Skyrim, and I thought that was a good game. I enjoyed it, and I played enough of it that I think I would be able to tell the difference. And now this is going to be an online game, so I'm going to be able to play this with other people.
The thing that I was really surprised at was the, I thought it was the traditional MMO, which means you have your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4 buttons.
Hammer buttons.
And you just hammer the buttons. You have your skills, and you have but it's not. It's like playing Skyrim. It's block on one button and attack on the other button. That surprised me. I didn't see that coming.
I did have a bear disappear on me.
That is true.
I don't know where.
But it's again. Well, I think we said it in the little sort of promo we had there. But it's the subscription. That's the problem with this.
Yes, I was gonna say I would really enjoy playing this game. I think I don't know for how long, but not enough to be paying. What was it going to be? Do we know?
Somewhere between $3 and $5 a month, plus the box fee.
Which, as MMOs go, that's actually fairly cheap. But it's for something that is essentially going to be Skyrim again. I think that fee is just enough to be like.
I'm really anti-monthly now.
Yeah.
Anti-monthly.
Anti-monthly. I don't want to be forking it over every month.
Anti-monthly. Anti-monthly.
Yeah. All right. So, what else did we have to talk about that we wanted to?
We have a list. Right there.
Yes, we went over and looked at some of the indie games, and some of the things.
Yes.
Some of the things that I came across was something called Contrast by Compulsion. Compulsion is the name of the studio, and although it's not some sort of spectacular game, if this comes out for a few bucks, yes, you know what, check it out. What I noticed about it, though, it was innovative and very. It must have taken the developers a lot of time to put together, and as a player, you wouldn't even think. Just playing the game that there was a lot going on. But what's happening here is you have this 3D character that's in this 3D world, just moving around, walking around, exploring things, 1920s type era, jumping around in the scene, trying to get somewhere. And at some point, you can flip over to an alternate universe where you become a shadow in the same world. The same world doesn't change. You just become the shadow. And now every shadow you step on, it's like you can walk on shadows and then jump back.
Was this the one with the trailer with the carousel?
I don't know. There was a skinny, tall girl in it.
Yeah, I think there's a trailer with like a carousel and it's the shadows and the girl's jumping along the shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. You know, something about the indie games is that maybe I don't like them all, but I really think that they are going to be driving the future.
They're innovative. They are. The indie games are actually where the industry is going to end up pulling creativity and ideas, because right now the gaming industry, the AAA titles, they're stagnant. They're pumping out the same shit and drivel that they pumped out last year and the year before. So
yeah, and
the indie is gonna force the direction of the gaming.
And hopefully I remember to talk about what I thought was a lot of stuff, like commonality between a lot of the games in indie. But I wanted to get to a couple other points, like what was some of the others? Crypt of the Necro Dancer. Now this was not necessarily a game that I want to go out and play. Not go out and buy, but it was playing on one of those Dance Revolution. No,
essentially.
What was that pad that you step on the arrows and you?
It was like the Dance Revolution.
It is Dance.
Well, no, because that's more with the. I know what you mean. It's when you go in the arcade and you see people on the.
On the
first. There's a left, there's a right, there's
yeah.
down, and you stamp on the.
Yes.
Arrow up. Right, left,
back, forward, have a heart attack.
It was an old type Zelda game.
Yeah, it was a dungeon crawler.
It was an old type Zelda game.
It was a top-down, exactly.
That you had to also tap the thing to the beat, and that was like your heartbeat. If you stopped, I think you died in the game.
Yeah. But it was also the direction you went.
Yeah,
because your attacks.
It's Speed, the video game.
Oh no, Crank.
Crank.
Don't stop or you die. I thought that was a very interesting idea. Another example of innovation, not necessarily something that we're going to be seeing a lot of. We're looking forward to
implementation, but innovation.
Okay, innovation. Yes.
It's a concept of a proof of concept of this is how this could be implemented. Is it something that's necessarily what we would jump out and be active with? Probably not. Someone might be. There was a huge line to do it. Huge line to get, huge queue line for that indie game.
It was the most popular, I think.
Yeah. It was insane. But it was good on them.
That's also something else to point out, that it was extremely popular. A lot of people were there to see it.
One thing I noticed today, especially, and today is the last day of the show that we're here.
That we're here. It's Sunday. There's still another show.
There's still one more.
There's still one more,
But the indie area was packed. You could not move in the indie area.
I noticed that. You know what's really interesting you say that, because when we got there this morning, we walked through that main kind of where like Assassin's Creed is, where particularly Assassin's Creed I noticed there's that line, they've got the line on the outside of the box, and I noticed that there wasn't that many people. As lines go, there's a lot of people, it's a video game convention, but as video game convention lines go, that wasn't that long, I noticed. But then you go in the indie booth and it's like,
and you're
trying to force your way through people, because
and you're talking yesterday when we went in there. When we went on Saturday morning, we were in there at the butt crack of when it opened.
Yeah.
And the lines were capped with a 2-hour wait from, sorry, you're not allowed on here. Estimated wait time is 2 to 3 hours from this point. No more accepted in queue.
Assassin's Creed had that one, and Battlefield today.
And today there was nothing. There was nothing. It was like, the line ends here. Please feel free to join it. And there was it was not as popular, or it wasn't as packed in the facility today. However, the India area was just packed. It was, you could not move. It was, and as far as that goes, great.
Yeah,
that's
I think
fantastic.
Awesome,
people are tired of the same old, same old.
Yeah. All right, another game that I came across that I actually found Welshy staring at was Harris Awakening, I think was the name of it. Now, this was a hand-drawn...
Yeah, this is this one, right? With,
yeah.
Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but it was Ingmar and Johan, I believe. I've got the other card here. Yeah, good luck reading that one out.
Ingmar Hjalmarsson.
Yeah, and we've got Johan Ingi Gudjonsson. So, but they were cool guys. I believe they're from Finland, I think they said. I could be getting that wrong.
If this is... Wow. Well, it could be Ingvar from Sweden, yeah. Read your own name.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the whole. What really intrigued me about this one is the whole thing is hand drawn. Everything.
Yes.
The hand drawn and they scanned it in, including. At one point I asked him, are the characters hand drawn? Because I thought maybe they just. But no, they're all everything. The effects. There was one bit where you could kind of charge through rocks with your kind of power, and the cloud effects, the dust effects, all hand drawn.
It was also an innovative gameplay again.
Yeah.
Perhaps you were trying to find your way through a maze. There was a lot of stuff where people jumping off of walls and going up and down and playing that way. This one, it was like you shot your soul and it would bounce off of things and land where
There was two
lands.
things. It was essentially, it's like a typical platform, so you go get from point A to point B. But the way you do that is kind of, you can jump. You can just regularly jump as you normally would in a game, but you can also jump and charge. You can jump and like that. So you jump and go and do a little extra sort of pulse. You can get a little bit further. Then, they give you you hold the mouse button down and kind of aim this little circle.
It's like playing as a rubber band. You shoot the rubber band. Where it lands is where you land.
Where's you land? So you let go of that button, it would fire a little kind of ball, and then you could
bounce, and then
you could wait for that ball to get wherever you want it to be, and you click the left mouse button.
Oh, is that when you did it?
Yeah, or it might be the space bar actually. Hit the space button. I think it was left mouse button, but it would teleport you to where that ball is. So there's kind of that extra layer of puzzle solving because you. And that ball bounces off things, you can bounce it up, you can bounce it down. Yeah. Really hard, I know, it's the game very difficult. I did the tutorial, which I found difficult enough, and then I got into the first bit, and I couldn't even get past the first area. I couldn't figure that out.
Well, that might be a little too difficult then.
Well, I think that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's just me, but I said
you
to the guy...
too many vowels in your name.
Yeah, too many vowels in there. But I think it's refreshing to see a game that's going, you know what, no, let's not dumb it down, let's not make it really stupidly easy, and they've kind of gone, let's make a puzzle game that's difficult.
Yeah.
Just refreshing. You don't see that very much anymore. It was cool. I liked it.
Did you guys come across something? Because that was my list.
What's the...
That I have written down here. I don't know.
I got flagged down for to see Beat Buddy. That was kind of a little bit fun. It's kind of... The way I described it was it's the opposite to Audio Surf,
which I got to speak with.
Yeah, so you got to the Audio Surf. I got to talk to, and the funny thing is they're right opposite each other on the.
It's like the battle of the music.
Yeah. So like in terms of Audio Surf, is you kind of play the music. So you select your track and it generates a map essentially off the audio. Beat Buddy is kind of the opposite. So you play these maps, but they have musical sections to them, and sometimes you need to jump things, and you can only jump certain things when the beat happens, so you have to make sure you time it with the beat. There's things like there's a little kind of bouncy pad that you could kind of bounce off, and that would have a musical note to it, so if you did it in a quick succession, you'd get this song essentially, you'd be adding to the background song. Is it my type of game? Maybe not, but it's cool. It looks great. Like, it looks visually great, and it's fun. It was a little bit of fun. It's very techno, it's the whole time, but it was cool. I think
So we see music as a commonality.
Yeah.
And one other that I wanted to point out as a commonality is we saw more than we expected of black and white.
Yeah.
There was a lot of black and white.
I didn't like it.
I didn't. It's another thing that I believe is I shouldn't say fad, but it's like the flavor of the month.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the 8-bit retro-looking...
A lot.
Game.
It's getting better.
Too much. There's too much of it. It's shouldn't be there. And I think we've discussed it over numerous beers this weekend on why we're seeing it. And I think you guys hit it on the head where it's something that's being taught in school, and it's a game that you can produce in a semester. So you've got this basis and you polish it a bit, but it's still...
Were you talking to somebody about that? I seem to remember that, where maybe it was me that was talking to somebody about it, where schools at the moment aren't. We've discussed this before, where schools at the moment aren't really preparing people for video game development. They're kind of teaching you, oh, you know, you can. And I think the black and white style is a result of that, because like, oh, you can make this really cool artistic game.
But that's the thing. That is an art movement.
Yeah.
It's not even a grayscale. It's black, white with a splash of red, and that's an art movement. You know, you could take in your photographs and they were black, white, and you put the splash of red on there, and it was like, ooh, it's eye-catching. Well, yeah, it's eye-catching. Is it sustainable for a game to keep your interest through the whole thing? If there was only one, probably. Right. But there's a whole slew of them coming out. So I don't know that that's a smart direction for companies to take. Or again, are these games being thrown out at in one semester? Hey, it's like, we got this, all right, all we got to do is just kind of wrap it up and we can throw it out there as an indie game.
Which is fine, but some of the, you know, I did a lot of like coding at university, so, and there is no way in hell I'd release anything that I coded at university, because it's a mess. It's you learning how to do it while you're doing it. It's kind of, and that seems like quite a few of these indie games are that. It's where they've learned how to do it and they've just released their first, you know, from a map maker point of view. Have you ever released something, the first thing you made? Because I haven't, because it was a mess. It was like brushes intersecting and there was like errors. You're like, yeah, no, I did it perfectly straight away.
No, I did not. No, I remember the first map I released, which was really, I didn't want to release it, and a friend of mine just said, you could just put it out there.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be well received by chance, but I got so much better.
Was it the first one that you ever made?
It was the first, I don't know.
One versus thing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You get to, and we got this one with Call of Duty a lot when we first started to have the people making maps with Call of Duty. We released the tutorial. Here's how you make a box and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And people would make that box, compile it, and say, here's my first map. You know what?
We didn't do that. Yeah.
We've got a billion of those maps. Yeah, you're proud of it. It's the first map you made, but you shouldn't release the first map you make. That's your learning progress. You not necessarily release the second map. You know, unless you are a prodigy. Release a third one.
Release the third one, yeah.
You know, unless you're a prodigy, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're.
Okay. What? Any others that you stumbled upon? Probably not. I don't know.
I saw one that Guns of Icarus or something. Along
Icarus.
Yeah.
But I've heard of them. They're not new.
They're not. The game released on Steam. It's still indie.
Yeah.
But the game released on Steam in October. They're going to be a PS4 exclusive title when it comes out, so Xbox won't get it straight off. I did speak with the developer, and they were actually pretty impressed not only by Steam and how they treat the indie developers, but PlayStation and Sony with the PS4, and since it's so close to the PC architecture, expect to see a lot of indie games on the PS4, more so than you did on the PS3, and more so than you're going to see on Xbox Live with the requirement for the XNA Studios. It's just they were quite impressed, and actually I got that from a couple developers, that they were quite impressed with the capabilities of the PS4, how close it is to the PC architecture, and how approachable Sony is, and supportive they are of the indie communities. So I was impressed with that.
Any more?
I don't know.
I guess not. Yeah.
Titanfall?
Well, actually, that was going to be another question. That was going to be like, what do you think is the highlight of the show? I mean, we have our own highlight, which we pointed out before, which we think is going to be Extraction.
Yeah, I think the paid press is going to call Titanfall.
Yeah,
I said Titanfall will be number one. Failing that, like, it'll be Assassin's Creed or it'll be Batman is there at the moment.
But see, Titanfall wasn't there themselves. They were there as part of the Xbox promo.
Oh, okay.
So Assassin's Creed or the Batman
Batman. I think Batman would probably be a very close. I feel like
I didn't feel like that was high too.
Nah, but it's Batman.
It's Batman.
And I love Batman, but you know, it's,
the problem is that, you know, we walked past the Titanfall or the Xbox area. They had Battlefield 4. They had Tom Clancy, the new one.
Blacklist. Is it?
Blacklist, and they had Titanfall. The Sony area had a whole bunch of Sony stuff playing there. Sorry, I didn't pay gads of attention to the console area, but it's just there was not. You know, I was impressed by I was really impressed by the indie area this year.
And that's, I think, definitely the difference between this year and last year. There was no kind of main couple of titles like
no
that we were really looking forward
titles.
to.
Yeah.
Last year there was a lot of stuff. There was like 5 or 6 things we were like, let's go see that.
We were hoping for last year that.
Yeah, and then again we approached this year differently. Like last year we had like an interview every 30 minutes or so. So we were running back and forth, like we were all exhausted by like after the first day because we were just back and forth. But this year we kind of played a little bit more. Well, played a little bit more casual.
Almost, yeah, it was casual.
You know, we've done some stuff that's not really game related. We've been doing some touristy things.
But we left room open to explore the floor. From a visitor point of view more than an industry point of view. So we've got a little bit of both this time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Any notable absenteeisms here?
Call of Duty. I don't even know if that's the.
I've never seen Call of Duty here though, other than playing on an Xbox.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not.
But yeah, even this year there was not a single machine that was playing Call of Duty.
Care, but it's surprising to see. You'd think there'd be like a massive Call of Duty section.
I expected a massive console presence.
Oh, yeah, like
yes, there's consoles everywhere, but there's not like look at me on the Xbox One, look at me on the PS4. It was just like we have these machines.
I don't know whether that's just because it's PAX. Maybe
I didn't notice any Valve presence.
Last year we barely saw any. We saw Go. CS:GO. That's it. So I don't think that's unusual, is it?
I don't know.
Year before they weren't even here. So.
All right.
It's about the same. That's it.
That's it. So we did what we came here to do.
Okay.
We have thoroughly wrecked Seattle. Don't expect us to be here next year because Seattle is now broken.
We'll see what
Unless they fix everything that we fucked up here.
Including this
crazy TV nonsense. There's a TV over there that's going with wildness. All right, on that note, I'm going to thank our host for taking the time out to chat today. That would be us.
That'd be us.
Yeah,
Thanks, us.
Stryder and Welshy, Foyleman. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks, so. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Job well done, gents.
Mine's empty.
Thanks for watching this week, and come back next week when we will broadcast another live show. Details for this and all past episodes can be found at MODSonair.com. We welcome your feedback via email at mailbag@modsonair.com. And please consider subscribing to MODSonline.com to support our show. The opinions expressed by individuals on this program are not necessarily the opinions of our sponsors, owners, or partners.
And then ended up sucking the furry guy's nipple. Because the burger was the furry guy. A fur burger.
You guys like from back here.
Crap. Got it back up. Ooh, piece of candy.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on.
Ooh, piece of candy.